Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition, March 23rd, 2017, of the Little Guys Home Technology live stream podcast, which is sponsored by Audioquest, Integra, and Golden Ear, three companies dedicated to high-performance audio and getting you the best sound possible. I'm David.
And I'm Evie, and we are a day late, but $1 ahead, because today we have with us our great friend, Rick Blair from Audioquest.
It'll be a fun show.
Absolutely.
Right? It'll be fun. It's always fun when we get Rick online and put him on the spot, so make him answer the questions. All right, here we go. So, by the way, the Little Guys is located in the southwest suburbs, according to Evie, of Chicago, at 191st and LaGrange Road in Mokina, where Mokina meets I-80. Easy to get to from all the major expressways. We have a really cool store. I'm open Monday through Thursday, 10 until 6. Friday and Saturday, 10 until 5. You can email us anytime at info@thelittleguys.com. You can set up an appointment and we can come out to your house. And we're happy to do that anywhere in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, Southwest Michigan. And we can make those arrangements as well. We always recommend stopping by the store first, or at least having a conversation with us first, so that we can decide is it to make the most sense for you to come see us first, or us to come see you first. But we can work that out, so no issues there.
Right, and this is not a high pressure environment. I mean, it's just awesome to come in and see what things are available, what things you can do.
Even if it's not something you're planning on doing, why not listen to the latest Dolby Atmos theater? Why not hear what digital music should really sound like in an uncompressed format and through some of the best headphones or through some of the best speakers in the
planet? Right, come and hear a bunch of different headphones with your music that you have on your smartphone.
There you go. So you're always welcome, of course, at the Little Guys. We love it when you comment on Facebook. We love it when you like us or follow us on Facebook, as they say. And of course, check out our website, thelittleguys.com. You can sign up for our newsletter and our advertisements and our promotions in terms of sales and things like that, right on the front page of the website. So easy to get to, easy to access. Mm-hmm. So let's get past all that shameless self-promotion, and as the kids would call it, and let's get right to Rick. Welcome, Rick.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Rick's been a friend of the Little Guys since its inception, and frankly, before we even opened the Little Guys, and we were just thinking about what we were going to do. We sat down with Rick and went over a lot of ideas, and I remember
1991, I think.
Yeah,
right?
It was
late 1991.
Yeah, I mean, it was years before we actually. It took an extra year or two to get up the courage and the rest of the stuff that it takes to open up your own stores. But Rick works for, obviously, as we said, for Audioquest. He works for a company that I think not only has some of the smartest people in the industry, but for sure the nicest people in the industry.
Thank you.
Right? I mean, they're special. And frankly, it starts at the top. I mean, Bill Lowe is an amazing individual. Besides his incredible knowledge and experience and the rest, he's a really cool dude, right? I mean, he's fun to hang with. He's a good guy, right? And I think that makes our relationship with Audioquest a lot of fun. Now, we didn't start out, when we started the Little Guys, we didn't start out with Audioquest. We had a huge Monster Cable relationship, and we were with them for a long time.
Not for lack of me trying.
that is correct.
That's true.
We bought lots of other stuff from Rick. At the time, it was just a rep in general and represented a lot of products, but you're right, it wasn't for lack of...
And I never stopped asking for 15 years, and then finally you saw the light.
And I have to say, and it's true, we did see the light, and we've said it a million times, we're not sure why we didn't do it from the beginning, other than we were monsterized, right?
Right,
I mean,
absolutely.
We were into it, and we liked the stuff, and they had a wide.
And Monster used to be a different company.
Yeah,
I think.
they did. They were really good.
Bill just celebrated 37 years of being in business, and I know we've talked about it, but Noel and Bill shared lines when they had independent manufacturers. Yeah. Noel was in Northern California and Bill was in Southern California. And Audioquest and Monster Cable were actually incorporated within a few days of one another. Cool. So, Noel had his vision of total market domination, and, we understand that. Bill has always marched to the beat of his own drum, and, he always wanted to, make the products that had the lowest noise and the lowest. I mean, it was at a time, when speaker wire was expected to be free.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I think there's still a lot of people out there that think wire should be free, and thankfully we've discovered that cables are components like receivers and speakers, so it's a good thing.
It took us a long time. I mean, I do remember the first day that may he rest in peace, John Lazart, who was our original Monster rep, walked into Musicraft with this kind of crappy looking brown box, right? And opened it up, and inside were these jumper cable like wires that he told us were speaker wires,
right,
and would make our equipment actually sound better. That was the line then, that our equipment would sound better. And we looked at him like he was nuts, because all we did was give away 50-foot rolls, and if you bought really good speakers, maybe even a 100-foot roll of 16 gauge wire,
right,
sometimes 18 gauge wire.
Sure.
And or we had some pre-made ones with little not even stainless, pressed steel spades, crimped on the ends of them or whatever. And we looked at him like he was completely nuts. Well, how do we're gonna sell that now?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the retail stores that I was working and running at the time were in secondary markets, and almost all of them had college markets in them. So one of the coupons that we would put in the local college paper was come in and get your free FM dipole antenna, come in and get 10 feet of speaker cable, because
Sure,
we assumed you forgot it at home. It was an entree to get people to visit the store the first week during New Student Week. And it's funny you had mentioned John Lazart. John Lazart was also the Dahlquist rep
Yep.
at the time.
Yeah.
So the first time I met Bill and Joe Harley and Jeanette was at the PIC Congress, when the high-end audio guys used to be there. I think it was 1980 or 81. Bill even can't remember which year it was.
Yeah.
So Dahlquist was selling woofers and electronic crossovers at the time. And John dragged me down, and I bought Big Red, looked like garden hose speaker cable to hook up to the Kenwood LO7 monoblocks that I had gotten, and some interconnects to hook the DQ1 Dahlquist crossover up. At the
He was
time.
a great guy, and he explained it in a way that made sense to me.
Yeah.
And frankly, the cool thing was, it was demonstrable. You could hear the difference. So that was important, right? I mean, It was
Right.
important. And then it was just a matter of taking that knowledge and that understanding and spreading it through the entire product lines.
Yeah.
Now, Noel got a little carried away, needless to say, but with how many different lines there were and how many
Sure.
different areas he went into. But the focus of great sound, or making things sound better,
Yeah.
it's common
Well,
sense.
it really, from the beginning, Bill's messaging really never changed. I mean, anyone that thinks wire can miraculously somehow make a receiver or speaker better, it's just not true.
Right.
The only thing wire can do is introduce noise and introduce timing anomalies and introduce forms of distortion, which all too often our brains and our ears are incredibly susceptible, to hearing and noticing. So, but Bill's approach to this from the get-go was always, all wire is sort of a compromise. What can I do to make my wire, introduce the least amount of noise, so he viewed our job as damage control more than anything else. So thankfully, wireless, we've proven over and over and over again, will never work as well as things connected with even inexpensive wires. So it's all about managing noise and managing distortions and other damage.
Letting the equipment actually work to as much of its potential as possible, right? I mean,
Yeah,
letting
you're
it
right
be
there.
as good as it can be.
Yep.
So when we first started with you guys, it was a lot of wires and cables. We learned about power cords, right? We learned that power cords, we're going to go into specific products, but we learned about that. We kind of had our evolution in that way. Since then, you guys have evolved to add some other unique products, some other really cool stuff. And let's start with, let's do headphones.
Headphones. Okay.
Right? I mean, headphones, probably the farthest thing from your mind when you started working with Audioquest.
Well, so here's one of the things that I love about Audioquest. The people who work for Audioquest travel a lot. They do business. They're at home, on the road. They're thinking about what they're missing. What would be cool if they had that, that would make their traveling more enjoyable, or things at home more enjoyable, and they sort of pursue that stuff. And it's not, okay, we're going to make this and cram it down people's throats.
Right, in 52 different colors.
We're making this to solve an issue that we have, that we think a lot of other people have, and they just keep going until they solve the issue.
Yeah, I remember when Bill first started talking about applying resources to create, an ear speaker category within Audioquest. And I was having conversations with many of my longtime friends, and the immediate response from many of them was, "Well, who asked you to build another pair of headphones? We already have 5,000 people, beating on our door all the time trying to sell us headphones." And I said, "Hey, if the headphones, we've always believed the great products bubble to the surface and earn their place in the market. And as Evie just said, it's not about trying to leverage you to do something that you don't want to do." Bill wanted, after trying, probably 40 or 50 pairs of headphones, something that made him happy. And, we just happened to have had the resources to hire a guy from Westone in Colorado who, their core business is $15,000 high-performance hearing aids. And, when you see performers like Taylor Swift on stage, nobody uses the stage monitors anymore. They all are in-ear stage monitors, and that's kind of Westone's business.
Right. And it needs to perform at a level that's beyond the typical...
Well, and the products that Westone makes as their own branded products are actually quite good. They just don't understand how to do business in the channel where added value, right, and premium performance really is meaningful. They're, I think, much more accustomed to more commodity-based things. So it's hard to take a commodity-based marketing approach to products that are premium and performance-based. Sure. There's a disconnect between the distribution and the story that the distribution can tell about why a product is developed the way it was.
The first headphone, it's called the Nighthawk.
Yes, it is.
And it's extremely unique. Let's just tell them a little bit about the Nighthawk, and then we can talk about the other, and then...
Well, first, Skylar Gray is a really, smart and motivated young engineer that was working for Westone, who also happens to be a very accomplished musician in his own right, has a number of records that are out and things like that. Skylar's from Colorado. He is total green, total hippie, total... he wears long hair. He just got his hair cut, by the way, so you'll see some more pictures coming out. And first and foremost, he had some really good ideas, I think, about things that the market needed. One of which was a pair of headphones that when you put them on your head, you don't feel like your head's in a vice, or you don't feel like you're trying to jam a cotton ball into your ear. The buds. I don't know about you guys. I have a very short lifespan trying to wear buds because it bothers my inner ear.
Yeah.
I hate the buds.
A lot of the over-the-ear headphones, the spring is too tight, and no matter what you do to try and relax it, you can't get it to relax to fit. So comfort was one of the number one things. I think number two, from the packaging to the materials that were used, sustainability is, for all the same reasons that Bill changed to completely recyclable packaging for our products a number of years ago to have respect for the environment and respect for the planet that we live on. So, he was given sort of a...
Free reign
to explore his ideas, and in the process he discovered this crazy German company that took wood and turned it into pellets that could then be liquefied, so you can injection mold wood. Right? Wood is a better box, if you will, for headphones to be contained in for the same reasons that a lot of speakers have wood box. So whether it's particle board with veneer over the top of it,
right?
Wood has desirable resonant characteristics for what you want to do when you're trying to transmit analog motion from a driver. Most of the headphone drivers are made from a material that's like a saran wrap. It's mylar. Many of them share the same issues. As you apply power to them, they do not retain their pistonic nature. So the first time I saw it, Denon used a biocellulose material. Biocellulose is actually lighter than titanium and incredibly rigid and can be formed into various different shapes. So it's very pistonic in the way that it functions. There's very little in the way of cone breakup, and As a result, it has significantly lower distortion, and I think so. There's a number of innovative.
There's a lot of really cool stuff things that he did, and the comfort obviously is super important because typically people with higher end headphones are listening for longer periods of time,
Yes.
right, and listening to the whole album, and then another album, then another album, and you need to have that. All the way down to the wires and the cords and the plugs, right? I mean,
Agreed.
That's just as critical. So that was kind of stage one, and they just came out with a new version.
Well, yeah, the difference between the Nighthawk and the new model Night Owl implies that it would be, people that stay up late at night.
Yeah.
So the Night Owl is a sealed back, semi-sealed back version. Nighthawk has a 3D printed, modeled after a butterfly wing, back wave damping port, essentially.
So kind of open air.
So imagine a sealed box speaker versus a ported speaker. Those are the kind of differences. And ultimately, they have a little different octave-to-octave tuning and a little different octave-to-octave tonal balance. But it's the same driver. It's the same injection molded liquid wood box. It's the same cabling. The new ones are a little more high-tech with this DuPont, carbon painted finish, so they look a little more modern. But both
no leather, right?
Well, but the Nighthawk came with what looks like leather ear cushions, but the problem with leather is it's cold when you first put it on, and because it doesn't breathe as well, it gets hot after you. I mean, think about leather in your car.
Sure.
Cold in the winter, hot in the summer. So Skylar found this company that was creating pleather, if you will, and it's actually made from ground up eggshell protein.
There you go.
So you put it on your head, and it feels cool to the touch, but it because it breathes, it doesn't get hot the way other leather would. Now we also developed a second ear cushion. A, for comfort for some people, and B, because it actually lets you fine tune kind of the bottommost octaves of bass response. So there's a micro suede, if you will, ear cushion that comes with it, and then there's also the eggshell protein cushions.
Both headphones sound amazing. We were playing with them today. Both headphones sound amazing. You could like one versus the other. It's personal. Whatever one you like is great. I'm going to say this out loud real quick that we happen to have a deal on some of the Nighthawks in the wood version, the wood tone version. I guess you would say wood finish. So there's like 3 or 4 pairs of those that are at an amazing price right now if you want to email info@thelittleguys.com or call the store or stop in. So, all right, I said it out loud. Sorry.
It's good.
I probably shouldn't have jumped to headphones. I probably should have started with the Dragonfly.
Maybe not. Dragonfly, I think, initially, was certainly thinking about the transportable music business. Yeah. But it was really developed at a time where, as you know, Apple has been the biggest purveyor of music now for 15 years. Yeah. I mean, they sell billions of copies of compressed music files. The issue was we never really felt like the specialty performance and premium audio community ever really figured out how to participate in that business.
Yeah.
Right. So I think iTunes was an opportunity to recognize that most of your customers are using digital music with their computers or with their phones or with their laptops.
For sure.
But when you go to the computer store and you have a conversation with them, they talk about the resolution of the screen, they talk about the processor, how much RAM does it have, what are the other features that have, but they never talk about the thing that gets used all day long, and that's the headphone jack. So the quality and the performance of the digital to analog converters chipset and the headphone amplifier that's built into most of the computer-based products, if it was a big deal and they spent a lot of time and money on it, they would be spending a lot of time talking about it, right? They do think. So Dragonfly was developed in conjunction with our entire range of high-speed digital cables, primarily to give little guys an opportunity to begin to have a conversation with people about a hierarchy of products. Even by today's standards, the original Dragonfly 1.0 at $249 is still an incredibly high performance and value-added product.
So it's a little device that plugs into the USB plugged into the USB, and your headphone, and it did three things.
Plug
It could be a headphone amp,
Right.
Yes.
it could be a preamp,
Correct.
Yes.
and it could be a. I can't think of what the third thing
I don't know
is.
what the third thing is.
I don't know. It's two things. It's a
Preamp and a headphone amp.
jack,
Right.
it's a DA converter, and it takes those compressed information essentially, and converts it to analog so that you can hear it, but it does it in a way that just makes it sound better. I mean, that's really. I mean, it makes it sound better. I remember the first one we sent to Steve Dahl, who does a lot of traveling back and forth to Florida and uses his computer a lot to listen to music. And he called me from the airport when he landed, that he got a chance to use it, and said, "David, where has this been? Why didn't somebody do this a long time ago?
Yeah.
It totally makes sense," or whatever. And we've sold a lot of them since then. And now there's the new evolution of it.
Well, when we first developed the original Dragonfly, the efficiency of the ESS is the company that makes the chips that many of the high performance DVD players and CD players use. The Oppo is one of the brands that gets a lot of reviews and things. They use the ESS chipset. The most current generation of ESS chips that was released, I don't know, 2 years ago or something like that, are infinitely more efficient in how they use batteries. The issue with the original Dragonfly was if you tried to use it with your transportable device, your iPad or your tablet or your phone or your Android, is it would work, but it would drain the battery in about 6 minutes. So as these new chipsets became available, the new ESS chips are about 85 or more % more efficient in how they use the battery life. So now we can not only just use them with a Mac Mini or a MacBook Pro or a PC based Windows or Linux or whatever operating system you happen to be running. You can use them with your phone and with your tablet. We also simplified, but believe it or not, when you're designing things in the electronics world, if you can reduce the number of parts, generally speaking, not only can you lower the cost, but you can also generally make things sound better.
Sure.
Lower noise, lower distortion, or other things. So the feature sets and the functionality of Dragonfly Red at $199, Dragonfly Black at $99, haven't really changed. They are headphone amplifiers with multiple ability to resolve different digital to analog files. It's also a preamp, so you could potentially come out of the mini jack that's on these devices and go straight into a power amp. If you got a Macintosh power amp or NAD power amplifier, you could drive the power amp with it. And then Dragonfly Red has a digital volume control. Dragonfly Black has the same analog volume control that was in the original one. So yeah, I mean they've come a very long way in a very short period of time. We evolved the product to make them almost like an impulse buy. At $99, I mean, think of all the things that your customers have spent $99 on as an impulse that may or may not have had as big an impact on their life as improving their enjoyment of the music.
So and we all know how the world's changed and how people are getting back into music and how important it's become to everybody. And certainly, I mean, the kids obviously spend all day with their headphones on and walking around with their phones. But the older generations finally accepted the concept and the idea and actually embraced the concept of having all their music at their fingertips and being able to enjoy it. And now it's coming around to the performance of it, and that's where you guys have really excelled. I mean, obviously the performance is what you've always been focused on, but those two little areas just make a big difference in music enjoyment. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, for sure. I think there are other evolving. I mean, the things that have changed over the last 8 or 10 years is vinyl records now generate more dollar revenue than actual CDs and jewel cases do. So that's new. We can talk about that a little bit if you want. But also, I think pay-to-play streaming has drastically altered the way people, and part of the reason that that more people, I think, are able to access a broader grouping of music is things like Spotify and Pandora and Tidal and MOG and Apple Music or whatever. Apple bought a company called MOG and turned it into what they're calling Apple Radio, I think, or something like that. we were just at CES, and we participated in the high-res digital streaming pavilion. And there were some fairly significant announcements that were made that we think are incredibly impactful, and I think are going to change people's expectations of what they think they're going to be able to hear from streamed music versus vinyl or versus a CD player. So there's a company called Meridian that developed this compression algorithm called MQA. So Tidal has already embraced it. Blue Sound has already embraced it.
Tidal is a streaming service.
Tidal is a streaming service that's owned by Jay-Z.
And put that on the side, has the highest. They're the highest res streaming service at this point that I know of.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about high res, because high res today, I think, is CD quality to many people, because their expectation is MP3 is the standard. So anything that's higher resolution than that would be considered high res. To us, because we've been doing this for a while, anything that's less than 1644.1 to me is a fairly, lossy, if you want, or a fairly low resolution file. Now, for those people that may or may not have ever experienced the difference between an MP3 that you might pay 99 cents for and download it from iTunes versus a ripped track as an AAFF file that you copy the same file, you should do those experiments yourself. There's all kinds of things.
You can come on in here and we can actually demonstrate the difference.
There's a whole room devoted to
tons of music,
to music
on our server that is
server.
Ripped both ways.
Yes.
Yeah. And sometimes three ways.
Right.
So
with that said, the music, the access to streamed music has altered, I think, people's willingness to embrace. So between, I think Spotify's the biggest company right now in the streaming business. I think there are somewhere in 160 million users. Pandora, I think, is second, somewhere in the 70 million users. The last numbers I saw for Tidal, he has about 3.5 million users. So, we're trying desperately to drag people kicking and screaming into.
Get them there.
Well, if you look at the tip of the spear or the peak of the pyramid in terms of the products and the services and the premium brands that the Little Guys has always been known for, if you want the best stuff, where are you going to go? Go see David Nevy. That's where you go.
Well, thank you. All right, so let's. Critical to me. I don't want to leave out the core. What has been the core products. I want to mention real quick line conditioning and surge protection and those devices are from a simple. Have you got a picture of one? Or you actually have one?
Yes, I do have some examples here of what
from the entry level of what is currently the entry level of line conditioning and surge protection.
Wait, I don't know if you can.
There you go.
Tom's got to tell me if I've actually got this in the camera, but
to component style.
This is a cool looking thing. I want this in my home instead of some of those
plastic boxes.
Yeah, I mean this is really awesome looking.
So the short story is,
because we're getting close.
Opportunistically, all of this starts with distortions that you get from the AC outlets that you plug all of your components into from the wall.
Right.
So virtually every piece of electronics that's in your house has a computer in it. Anyone that's ever heard the analog version of what a fax machine sounds like, so computers make noises, right, that get backfed into the AC distribution lines, and all of those AC distribution lines are interconnected to one another back at the breaker box. So
and even your normal appliances and things are introducing noise into.
Of course, yeah. If you've got a digital clock on your stove or your microwave oven or things of that nature, they all introduce backfed noise into the system. So you combine that with radiated noise, with electromagnetic interference, with all of these other things that bombard, your audio and video components. We happen to have had the good fortune of being able to hire someone named Garth Powell, who's kind of one of those propeller head genius guys that has, in his heart, would love to be a professional kind of jazz drummer. But he can't make a living doing that, so he became a very accomplished audio engineer, specifically to manage AC power related issues. So, one of his products was the Furman Ref 20, and
he's created the products we've been selling for 20 years. That basically top of the line conditioner, surge protection.
We just happened to have the good fortune 4 years ago when Garth was ready to move on to his next career, much like Skylar was ready to move on from Westone.
Yeah.
Garth came to work for us and was kind of given the clean slate and said, those 14 years that you worked at Furman and you didn't really get a chance to implement all of the idea content that you had kicking around in your brain, let's figure out which one of those ideas actually works. And Audioquest is the beneficiary of those things. Our top model came out about a year and a half ago. It's the Model 7000. It sort of establishes new pricing as well. I mean, it's an $8,000 device that plugs into what we hope is a dedicated 20-amp circuit. So you bring your electrician into the house, you run a dedicated circuit to run your TVs and your surround systems.
Right, don't turn off the podcast. Keep going.
Oh, got it. And this has 12 outlets on the back of it, 4 of which are for high current devices like a receiver or a power amp or integrated amp. 4 are for low current devices, which could be an analog Blu-ray, could be a Blu-ray. And then there's 4 digital ports, which you would plug your computer or your D-to-A converter or things like that into. It has an incredibly cool looking black chrome faceplate, so it's kind of a chameleon. It picks up whatever is there. Weighs almost 100 pounds, so bring your weightlifting belt when you want to take one home and put it in the trunk of your car.
Now the good news. There is also one.
Well, there's one at $4,000 that gives you about 95% of the performance of the $8,000 piece. And then there are additional models that are being developed in the component chassis width. So the piece that Evie held up was developed for smaller 2-channel audio systems. So if you've got an integrated amp and a tuner, and it has 6 AC ports on the back of it. The first product that Garth developed was actually an upgraded AC outlet that you replace the 59-cent hardware store version.
It's called the Edison, right?
It's called the Edison. It's built with very high-quality copper billet. Then it's silver-plated, and the springs. It creates airtight, oxygen-free connections between the AC plugs and your components. I mean, it's
really cool.
It is cool. Yeah.
So we go into that direction, and I'm cutting it a little bit short. We'll do a whole nother show. I promise. We'll get Rick back within the next month or so. We're way over our time as it is, but we're going to keep going. Wires, cables,
that's
HDMI,
the core.
digital.
That's the core
product.
Yeah, for sure it is. And quite frankly, more than half the business is HDMI cables. Let's not kid each other.
People always ask us. Grab the power cords, would you? People always ask us. Well, what And we know that better HDMI cables make a big difference, and we know that better speaker cables make a big difference. That's a given at this point. But there's a variety of power cord capability, a variety of different devices, and it was the place that gave us the most. I don't know if it was shock or if it kind of freaked me out the most that it made such a big difference. And we've one person in the entire time we've been doing this, selling power cords over 15 years, 12 years of selling power cords. Only one person has ever brought one back. And all he said was, I'm not sure the difference was enough. There was a difference. But all the other people, and we're talking about hundreds and hundreds, actually thousands of power cords, love them and bought more. Came back and got another one and then another one. And they talked their friends into it and stuff, so...
Well, I think you can go to the Audioquest website and get the Audioquest 101, the long version of what I'm going to say. But essentially, we'll get in the Wayback Machine. You guys probably still have a landline in your house, but most people have no idea what I'm talking about. But you can move into a 50-year-old house that has 22 gauge 4-twisted pair bell wire to a punch-down block, and you can connect a landline to it, and it works as well or better than the day it was put in 50 years ago.
Sure.
When the first Ethernet cards became available, right, they had a cable that was 4-twisted pair, just like the category cable is that we sell now. They started with stranded wires. Yeah. So when the next generation of Ethernet cards became available that had greater throughput capabilities, the first thing that changed in the Ethernet wire was to move from stranded wires, right, so hair-sized strands that are twisted together like a little barber pole or a candy cane, to solid conductors. And category cables have been solid conductors ever since Category 2. if you take the AC outlet out of your wall, which I would discourage people from doing that, if otherwise you might electrocute yourself. But if you look at the infrastructure, the Romex that's inside almost every residential property and almost every commercial property, the conductors are 14 gauge 2 conductor with a ground wire that go back to your AC breaker box. They're all solid conductors. So if the people that are selling you AC power say solid works best, if the people that sell phone lines to you, back in the day of landlines, say solid conductors work best, and if the computer people say solid works best, then why is Audioquest the only company in the wire business for consumer electronics that uses solid conductors? I don't know. I can't answer that question. All I can tell you is solid conductors have lower noise thresholds. They just flat work better for the applications that we're using. So all of our power cords are comprised of what we would either call semi-solid in our entry-level products or solid conductors. So it's a continuation of the Romex that comes out of the wall to connect to your components.
I know when we first started, we always said to people, it's solid from the power station to the pole, the pole to the house to the outlet, and then your last 6 feet isn't. And the reality is, it's your first 6 feet that isn't.
Right.
It's probably it's critical. It's the critical part. And
the interesting thing to me about a lot of this is, it is one of those aha moments because it's the least likely product that most people would expect, to ever, hear or experience any difference in terms of lowering the noise floor, of making, TVs potentially have lower noise floor, so the black drive levels are better, and audio, the noise floor is lower.
Cable boxes.
If
you have a cable box that has
the lower the performance of the power supply, the more impactful we've seen power cords be.
So a wide variety, a wide range. Obviously, with HDMI cables, we are running out of time. So,
here's what I want to.
And record cleaner.
Yeah, let me talk about HDMI. I have one thing I want to talk about.
Please.
So I get a lot of phone. My cell phone is listed on the Audioquest website, so
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. We do it on purpose. I mean, if you call the 800 number, as you know, there's a person. It's either Jessica or Michelle, or there are real people that answer the phone.
And we were able to help out an Audioquest customer through you who didn't buy the cable here, but had a problem, and we exchanged it for them.
And that's.
That's
one of 50 reasons why you should buy things from your local dealer, quite frankly.
The other thing about Audioquest, I just have to throw in here, is I've never known them to not replace a cable at no charge.
Correct.
There's
no arguments.
No, it's it doesn't. It doesn't even really matter how old it is in most cases.
We believe that your customers deserve to be treated the way you would expect to be treated if you went to a local purveyor of premium and performance goods, period. So, HDMI cables, the latest round of things that seems to have created all kinds of confusion, which, quite frankly, HDMI is one of the most confusing things for many, many people. Please.
Yes.
So, you only need to know one thing. Every Audioquest HDMI cable that's ever been made back to HDMI-A from 10 or 12 years ago, if it's 8 meters or shorter, it is 100% compatible with every performance 4K, 444, right, 30 frames per second. All the latest stuff. So the only change to the HDMI cable specification that has ever taken place from the original spec, which we followed really closely, if you follow the specifications closely, there's absolutely no reason that cables you made 12 years ago shouldn't be compatible with things are today. There's only one reason they wouldn't be, and that's because you didn't follow the specification closely enough. There's a feature set that was proposed called Ethernet functionality. Almost, Tom did the job at I think I have 85 or 88 components that are connected to my network at home.
Yeah.
So there's a router at the head end, and that's where everything centrally goes back, and then there's the equivalent of phone lines that goes around the house. I think that the concept that there was a twisted pair within an Ethernet cable that would allow your television set that maybe is connected to the internet so that you can have Netflix or things stream through your television set would then be able to share through anything else interconnected via HDMI cables that Ethernet visibility into the internet portal. Nobody's ever really seemed to embrace that yet, But that was the only change that took place, and they changed it to 24 gauge twisted pair for that. So as long as you stay within reasonable distance, there's no problem dealing with our original cables. That's the only change that's taken place. So just know anything that's less than 8 meters. If you get longer than 8 meters, you'll have to talk to Tom Gunderson or other people at the Little Guys about what's the best way to move this high performance data around the house.
Well, and there's different levels of HDMI, right? I mean, there's cinnamon, there's chocolate, there's vodka. There's different levels of HDMI. There's definite differences in the ability of causing less damage.
Right.
Those cables.
As an industry, unfortunately, all too often marketing departments want to distill the essence of technical information to the lowest common denominator. So it's easy to try and assign a number to something. So generally speaking, the higher the number, the better the product, right? So the issue is when you're looking at the capabilities of HDMI cables, it's distance combined with video resolution, combined with color purity or density, combined with the refresh rate of the frame rate of the device. If you don't know what all three of those things are, you have no idea what the maximum data rate needs to be for the HDMI cable to support it. So, as time goes forward, right now we're kind of waiting for the content to sort of catch up with the display devices. Sony XBR television sets have a transcoder, a chip called the X1 chip. Right. If you want to learn about it, come to the store. They'll tell you all about it. But, your cable box or satellite box or your DVD player is not the highest resolution sources. So the TV takes what comes in and it digitally manipulates it to convert it to the latest high performance things. Video. So whether we will ever have 4K or 8K over-the-air broadcast, I don't know. That's going to be dependent on whether ABC and CBS or PBS buys new cameras. Will the selection? How many 4K Blu-ray discs are available?
Is it getting
better?
It is getting better, which is pretty crazy.
The thing that's hardest to find is something that's 4K and Dolby Atmos.
Right, combining all the different
on
things.
the same disc, but there are more and more of the discs every day.
But this is not much different than when we were transitioning from the original DVD content to the Blu-ray content.
The Blu-rays.
So, the display devices will, I think, continue to be ahead of the curve as it relates to native resolution content. So the good news is the display devices have up converters and transcoders and things. So your original DVDs that were 720p they're not obsolete. You can still watch them and
get them up converted.
Right, and they look better than
today's 4K TVs. Frankly, looks amazing to me. I never thought I'd get over plasma, to be honest.
Right.
I never thought I could pass it, but
it's like looking out the picture window.
Yeah.
With
the window down.
Yeah, with the window down.
Right.
That's what 4K is to me. The window's down. You're just looking out at whatever it is. It's real.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get sidetracked.
No, I love it.
HDMI, but it's a question that I'm sure your guys and a lot of the phone calls that Tom and his
we're running out of time anyway, so we're way over the time. So we're done. You want to pop a couple of more? You got it.
Clean screen.
Clean screen.
Clean screen. Do not clean your television screen with Windex.
Please do not.
Well, you can't, except David. David would like you guys to sell you a new TV.
Right, we'll sell you a new TV. But
so a lot
everybody
of
needs,
and
clean
it's
screen
not just and record cleaners.
Cleaners, which I do not have here.
Still clean your records.
Right.
So there's a lot of cool products, a lot of cool stuff. It's all on display. It's all here for you to check out. We're out of time. We're way over time. So I'm gonna thank Rick.
Thank you guys. It's fun being here. I love coming here to see you guys.
As always, we'll have him back on, and we'll get into specific cables and wires and more specifics and maybe even a little more technical about what you can look for, what the differences that you should expect to see, and set realistic expectations for what actually happens when you make those changes and stuff.
Right.
Like that.
Right. Well, that's the important part. The technical part might be hard to understand, but the result with a better sound, a better picture is,
the
easily
reality
translatable.
Is almost all of our premium and performance dealers do have audition privileges. Yeah. If there's something one of your customers wants to audition and you don't have it in the store, what do?
We call you.
Hey, Rick, can you send me one of these? I got a
up.
customer that wants to use it.
Especially high-end
So,
speaker wires. And,
we would never, ever expect any customer to spend money on something where they don't get the value proposition. So the best way to figure out which one is the best value proposition for you, is to be skeptical of everything that we're saying to you. Buy them, take them home, hook up the ones, figure out what the differences are, and keep the one that you think is the best one and bring the other ones back and get your money back or buy something else.
Right.
We're happy to do
I can tell you when we've done that with customers but they come back and say, so what happens if I get the better one than this?
Right.
Yeah. Or can I buy 6 more of this?
That's exactly
right.
right.
I mean, that's what happens. So
it's a self-perpetuating. We offer it because we're altruistic and because we know it's going to be okay. So no worries there. Cool. Again, Audioquest, one of our absolute favorites. They've been with us for quite a while, and Rick, of course, is special in our hearts.
Thank you.
He's been with us before we were the little guys. So we want to thank everybody for watching and listening. We want to thank everybody for their comments, and we hope you will email us, info@thelittleguys.com. We hope you will call us, 708-754-8844. But more importantly, we hope you'll come into the store and experience the things that we're talking about. Music the way it's supposed to be, video the way it's supposed to be, and a combination of the two like you've never heard it before. Dolby Atmos at its best. So thanks for tuning in. TheLittleGuys.com is the website. We are out of here.
Goodbye.
Thanks.
Bye.
I just like these bouquets.
That was a quick hour, huh?